Joining us now to discuss that even further, that idea, is national security expert, CEO of Global Risk and Intelligence Planning, Hal Kempfer, friend of the program on this Friday. Hal, good to see you. I think the ambassador there responding to that question, though, this idea has some purchase, at least among Republicans on Capitol Hill, about military intervention to take on the cartels more directly. My question to you, and I know you have experience with this, have we tried that in the past and it hasn't worked, or is this a completely new idea?
Well, we've tried it in the past and it hasn't worked. That's probably the best way to put it, Andrew. General Pershing, Blackjack Pershing's famous, punitive expedition going after Pancho Villa. We chased him for a long period of time. We never caught him. And at the end of the Mexican Revolution, he ended up becoming the president of Mexico. There's a lot of problems with this. You got to remember, Mexico is not Afghanistan. It's not Syria. It's not Iraq. It's right next to us. We have incredible interlinked economic ties, supply chain issues with Mexico in terms of manufacturing, all sorts of chemical plants, you name it, everything going down and south. It's a very integrated economic system that we have, particularly with the northern states of Mexico, with the maquiladoras and other corporations. And having done business consulting in this area, when you look at doing manufacturing or any type of thing in North America, if you're not looking at Mexico, you're missing a big opportunity, because it is a great place to set up. Although there is that violent framework, the cartels down there and the drugs that fund the cartels, and that's part of it. And it's more than just a drug trade. There's kidnappings, extortions, money laundering, human trafficking, sex trafficking, you name it. These are very multifaceted criminal organizations that operate down there.
Okay.
Now, the problem we run into is targeting. How would you use the military to do that? And to do something down there, you have to, under international law, work with the sovereign state government. And that's where and we have been doing that.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a very long period of time. Now, during the 90s, I spent over 4 years working counter-drug intelligence as part of the Department of Defense under when we had a much larger military presence along the southwest border. I worked with DEA, FBI, U.S. Customs, state and local law enforcement, going after various drug cartels that were bringing all sorts of stuff in. Things have changed in terms of what drugs we were focused on at the time, but the enterprise concept of the cartels stayed the same, and they adapt, and they improvise, they overcome, and they move things around. We had a big crackdown in the U.S. on methamphetamine labs, and you may recall years back, a lot of focus on taking meth labs out here in the U.S. Very easy to make a meth lab. You can set it up literally in a hotel room in the bathroom, but the big focus was on that. Eventually, the cartels realized, we could do big industrial meth labs easier in Mexico and actually send the stuff to the United States. And there was a bit of a shift, and that was part of our enforcement effort here, forcing that down there. Now, with fentanyl, which is the big drug right now, the precursor chemicals come from China, and it's being essentially manufactured, if you will, in Mexico and brought into the U.S. If we crack down, it could just move around. But how do you attack it is the big question. This isn't something where you're going to do a drone strike. You're not going to do a missile strike. If you go down there and you try to attack the labs, you're literally in residential areas. You're going to have civilian casualties.
Hal, you said the word criminal when you're describing these cartels, criminal organization. Now we're hearing, at least from some House Republicans, they want the designation to be foreign terrorist organizations. That's a heavy lift, is it not? And if that ever, gained more purchase, if we ever got close to that, what would that mean? And because there are multiple cartels, there's not just one. But if they were designated this special, symbol, the FTO designation, what would that mean for U.S.-Mexico relations?
Well, I can tell you right now, it's already causing huge problems in Mexico politically. and it could end up putting a government into place which is actually very anti-U.S. by the time it's all done. These cartels, there's the illicit side of what they do, but they also have a tremendous amount of revenue that is seen in the legal economy as well. And in many places in Mexico, the cartels are not seen. They recognize the violence, but they also see things that we don't see, which is the cartels helping people in their communities and doing things like that. I'm not saying the Robin Hood or something, but they do a lot of things where they actually very meticulously build up public support in those areas, and that's part of their larger security network, as it were, because people will then tell them when they see government forces coming in that might hinder their business. So there's that other side of that. Now, if we designate them as terrorist organizations, again, this is not the Sahel of Africa. This is not Afghanistan. And we're not going to be able to go in there and do autonomous strikes. We have to work with the Mexican government. We have been working with the Mexican government extensively for years. We've been working with them in intelligence. We've been working with them in a lot of other things. But at the end of the day, it really should be the Mexican government that is doing law enforcement operations, even military operations tied to law enforcement in Mexico. I have personally trained Mexican Navy and Marines in dealing with security operations, and the Mexican Marines are actually at one time were our lead because they were considered basically the most honest, or I should say they had the highest integrity of any military force down there to go after these cartel kingpins. With that said, the security constraints of what they had to do were incredible.
Okay.
Because they would go after their families and everything else. So they had to hide their identities, do all sorts of stuff. It's a very difficult thing to do down there. If the U.S. was to go down and do like special operations missions, like, for example, we did to take out bin Laden.
Sure.
I think that would backfire on us 100 times over.
All right.
So.
All right, Hal Kempfer, we really appreciate your insight into this. We wanted to get you on to talk about this story. It's been such a big story this week, and we appreciate your time. Have a good weekend, Hal. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.